and welcome to Gardening with Grace. I'm Grace Manzer, horticulture agent in Pasquotank County. Today, I'm going to talk about how to take cuttings. But first, we need to talk about what a cutting is. So, a cutting is defined as a piece of a plant that is used for vegetative propagation. But what does that mean? Basically, a cutting is a piece of a plant that grows and creates a new plant. So it's a clone of a mother plant. So, say your friend has a beautiful plant that you just have to have. Rather than seeing if you can scour every nursery or garden center and find one of your own, you could grow one yourself by asking permission to take a cutting and then growing the cutting out yourself. So today, I'm going to show you how to take those cuttings. So in front of me, I have the plants that I'm going to take cuttings of. I have a goldfish plant and a purple wandering Jew. I've selected these because they're both herbaceous and relatively easy to root. So normally when you're taking cuttings, you think of using pruners, but because these are herbaceous, they're going to be pretty easy to break, so I'm just going to use my thumbnail. So what I'm going to do is find the end of a stem where the growing point is. I'm going to start with the wandering Jew. I'm going to find the end here, and that's where our cutting is going to come from. So I am going to flip it over so I can show you the internodes and the nodes. Those are really important to consider when you're taking a cutting. So you need to know the difference between the nodes and the internodes so you're able to make a good cutting. So I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to show you exactly why. So you want to make sure you have enough leaves or nodes so that the plant can make its own food. But then you also want to make sure you cut so you're encouraging lateral branching. And that happens when you cut at a node. And now we're going to move into the goldfish plant. We're going to do the same thing, find an end. We're going to look for our nodes and our internodes. So we're going to flip it over, and we can see it's a little easier to see on this because they are all right there together. The nodes are opposite one another. And you can see that it is really easy to break right through these by hand. So we take another cutting over here on this goldfish plant. And this is a really great example of some lateral branching, why you want to cut to encourage that. So those are our nodes, and that's the lateral branch. And we're going to go ahead and just cut it off like that. All right, and then we're going to grab another one, and we have another fantastic example of some lateral branching there, even probably big enough for its own cutting. So we're going to go ahead and cut it off right there at that node. And then we're going to actually flip it over and we're going to pull that one lateral branch off. And now we have two cuttings out of it. So now, as you can tell, it's pretty easy to get quite a few cuttings if you've got a large plant like this. So we've got quite a few cuttings right here in front of us of both our goldfish and our purple wandering Jew. So now that I have my cuttings, the next step would be to stick those cuttings into water or media so that they could root. But you may not always have soil, media, water available when you're taking your cuttings, so they might have to hold for a while. So instead, what we're going to do is place our cuttings, in a wet paper towel. We're going to lay them in there and then cover them up. This will keep them moist and keep them viable so that when I get around to planting them this afternoon or tomorrow, they'll still be good to plant. If you're planning on storing these, as in not planting them within the next hour or two, you should put those wet paper towels into a plastic bag to keep the moisture in. And you can store them for maybe 2 days, but you should try to get them into something where they can stretch out their roots as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching Gardening with Grace. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time.